Welcome back. Another edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast with you as always. Jeffri Chadiha from the NFL Network, NFL.com. Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. We're talking Chiefs football here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. We're broadcasting here, streaming live on a Friday, 10 a.m. If you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. Already got people lining up in the chat room. We'll get to as many comments as we can. You can be a part of it. Fridays at 10 a.m. We also go Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. So make sure you're a part of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. Coming up today, we'll talk about who's been the biggest surprise. We're talking about a positive for the Chiefs so far. Who's been the biggest disappointment for the Chiefs just 3 games into the season? We'll take an inventory on that. What do we expect from Kareem Hunt? What will his role be for the Chiefs? Should the Chiefs be a run-first team? Is this something that reality is they got to play to the strength of the team, which is still the defense? If it's not Kelce who steps up alongside Rashee Rice, who will it be? Have expectations changed for Patrick Mahomes? Do we have to back up the bus on what he's going to be, what his season is going to be? How dangerous are these banged-up Chargers? What do we expect from Wanya Morris versus the Chargers now that one of their defensive ends is out? And, of course, we'll make our predictions on the game. It's coming up right now here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeffri Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeffri Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeffri Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Friday, getting ready for the Chiefs and Chargers Week 4. The Chiefs come in 3-0, gentlemen. But hasn't always been pretty. But there certainly have been positives, right? You're not 3-0 without there being some positives in what you're doing. Let's start there. Let's be upbeat, right? Like there is a bit of a tone, because I think people thought that the team would be more dominant than it's been. There's maybe been a tone that it's doom and gloom, even though they're 3-0. Let's start with the positives, Jeff. What's been your biggest surprise for this team so far?
Well, Carson Steele. I mean, he's the one that's probably, there's some recency bias there, but he ran the ball very effectively last week against Atlanta. Yeah, he's had some mistakes in pass protection, and he had the fumble against the Bengals, but he looks like a player who could help this team in the backfield at a time when desperation is very much a part of what the Chiefs have to feel in that part of their roster. You're talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire not being there. You're talking about Samaje Perine being a third down back who actually ran the ball pretty well himself, bringing in Kareem Hunt. So I don't know if he can sustain this for the next 2 months, but I think he's off to a pretty good start at a time when the Chiefs really need him to be that guy.
Yeah, Carson Steele has certainly been something they need, right? Particularly with all the injuries they've had to Isaiah Pacheco and losing before the season even began, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Sam, what do you got for the biggest surprise?
Yeah, I'm gonna put 2 names on here, kind of under the radar. One is Shamari Connor. I mean, he's been involved in 2 turnovers, 1 each of the last 2 weeks, and there's a lot of right place, right time for Shamari Connor, and there's enough of it to where what's most impressive to me is that a guy who's only in his second year, who didn't play that much in his first year, seems to have a real awareness for his surroundings. And then the second one is Turk Wharton. I mean, Turk Wharton came off of a pretty serious injury last year. And I think what we're seeing this year is what he looks like when he's healthy, when he's had the full complement of the offseason programming, the full training camp. He's got 10 pressures in 3 games. He's been credited with 4 stops in 3 games. And he's also been involved in both of those turnovers. Both of those Shamari Connor turnovers, Turk Wharton's had his hands on too, with the forced fumble on Joe Burrow before Connor picks it up. And then obviously hitting Kirk Cousins that prompted him to flutter that football that Shamari Connor intercepted a week ago. And we'll get to the rest of the defensive line soon, but you've got to have other guys that pressure the quarterback beyond Chris Jones. And if one of those other guys can be from the interior with Tershawn Wharton, that's a bonus that, to be honest, I just didn't really anticipate the Chiefs having this year, and they've had it through 3 weeks.
How about this one from Jeremy? Jawan Taylor has been a beast through 3 weeks.
I think that's strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not committed penalties, which I think that was one of our predictions going into the season, was maybe the penalties situation would improve. I think beast is probably a bit strong.
Yeah. Compared to Suamataia, he's a beast. Yes.
Yeah. I'll go somewhere between beast and where you guys are. I think it's nice to see him get a little credit. I think you haven't had any fears over there on that side. I mean, definitely there's much more of a situation going on the left side, but we're not talking about, what else is happening because, he's been pretty solid. So I think that's fair. I'll give a couple other names. I had Wharton down. I had Carson Steele down. I figured somebody else would take Carson Steele. How about Jalen Watson? That's a surprise because I think we really were talking a lot about how constantly we were hearing Steve Spagnuolo talk about the fact that, we haven't had it. We need somebody to step up at that other corner, and it hadn't happened. So, I think that is of note that, he's really solidified that. The defense has been very good. I mean, has it been elite?
But I'll push back on that just based on who he's faced, like who they've had to deal with. They have not had more than one good receiver in any team they've played so far. So I'd hold back on touting Jalen Watson.
Well, but Jalen Watson got beat by backups in the 3rd preseason game with the Bears. So it's still
we're talking about a surprise. We didn't say
what you said
he's not getting killed. All right. Okay.
It's everything's relative here, Jeff.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And Jermaine Burton got him in the Bengals game. So it's like I think he's getting more help than we probably realize on the other side.
Yeah, probably. But can we agree it hasn't been a disaster?
Yes.
No.
And when you hear the defensive coordinator, who's usually kind of coach speak, talk about, well, I need somebody to step up. I mean, there was a reason to be afraid of what was coming on. How about Leo Chenal? Let me nominate his name on the positive side. Excuse me. Do we? Look, I know he's not the sideline to sideline. He's not a great coverage guy, but Nick Bolton makes a great play in that Atlanta game to make the tackle on the 4th down, but it's Leo Chenal that's blowing up the offensive line 3 yards deep into the backfield. He's been a Swiss Army knife for Steve Spagnuolo to use in a lot of different ways. I think Leo Chenal has been a pleasant surprise. Like, I think there was some fear as to would it just be all Tranquil and Bolton. They've got a nice, spot that they use him. I think he's been again, a surprise. I'm not ready to make him first team all pro, but I think that's been a pleasant surprise for the Chiefs.
Leo Chenal is an example of the value of the Chiefs defensive coaching staff, because they have found his best value, which is as an edge setting run defender. I mean, we've seen him play on the edge a lot this season. Specifically, Nick Bolton told me after the game that there's a saying in the Chiefs locker room that don't let somebody try and set the edge on Leo Chenal because he'll beat you. And that's a value that the Chiefs have realized over the past couple of years, that's his best spot. So, yes, there's a lot of credit that should go to Leo Chenal, specifically on that final play that you mentioned, Soren. But I also think there's credit that needs to go to the coaching staff for realizing that exactly where they drafted him was not exactly where they're playing him right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And listen, but that's part of the deal, right? Have a skill set and give the coaching staff a chance to come out and, get from you what they need. And, absolutely. Is that, I don't think that's a surprise. I agree with you. Credit goes there, but we think this is a good coaching staff, right? We definitely on the defensive side, Steve Spagnuolo and his group, we're not surprised by that, right?
No, I mean, yeah, you're right. I'm just, look, I'm making your point sound better.
Ah,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That's awful nice of you. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk about all right. The flip side, the disappointments. Who have the disappointments been for this team, Jeff? Where do you want to look there?
Well, obviously Mahomes isn't playing great. I mean, that's number one, but probably, Travis Kelce's got to be above him. That, and I know we talked about this on Tuesday, but people have to accept that he's getting older. I've heard a lot of people talking about watch the film. He's getting open. He's getting open when the ball's being thrown. And, he's getting more attention. He's always gotten attention. It's just that hasn't changed in his entire career. And so for it to be now all his excuses coming out, I just think he's getting older. I think I don't think he's going to be at the pace he's at the entire season. He will have good games. But I think even his good games are not going to be 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. It's probably going to be 5 for 70 and 1. And so I think that's I didn't think he'd be that great. I'm surprised at how bad it's been so far.
Interesting. How about this from Blake? He said, I'd be a valid pick for both. Nick Bolton, surprise and disappointment so far, depending on when you ask the question. That's pretty good, right? It's the yin and yang of the NFL season. How about the disappointment for you, Sam?
Well, I mean, it's hard to top Travis Kelce because of the numbers that he had, and look, I mean, Jeff's right. I mean, this idea that Travis Kelce is just now getting attention at age 35 is laughable. I mean, Travis Kelce has always gotten this sort of attention, but just to add one other thing to it, I'm going to say the edge rushers. I mean, the Chiefs' edge rushers this year are not generating pressure at the same rate that they generated last year. Mike Dana has 6 pressures and 85 pass rush attempts. That's 7% pressure rate. George Karlaftis is at 11%. He was at 14% last year. Dana was at 9%. They both have dipped this year, despite Chris Jones is still the 4th most doubled defensive tackle in the NFL. It's not like their one-on-one matchups are suddenly going away. Mike Dana is seeing the fewest double teams among edge rush starters in the league, and he's got 6 pressures out of it. Karlaftis is near the bottom too, as far as the amount of double teams he sees. Those two guys, I mean, the Chiefs are not generating pressure at the same rate. And to me, it's because their edge rushers aren't winning at the same rate. They've only got 6 sacks in 3 games. Last year, they were second in the league at 57. And we all talked about this offseason. Can they generate the same sort of pressure that they did a year ago? But a lot of that was because we thought, okay, they were able to go one-on-one with L'Jarius Sneed, right? And so therefore they could bring extra guys to create that pressure. These defensive ends are still getting these one-on-ones, and they have to win more frequently. And they did win more frequently a year ago than what they're winning right now.
Terry agrees with you. The lack of pressure is one of the things he sees. How about Jeremy? Andy and Nagy can't scheme the too high. I'll agree with that. I'll agree, but I'll put Andy, Nagy, and every other offensive coach out there. I don't understand why this has become such the magic defense that nobody can solve. When 20 years ago, it was pushed aside by defensive coordinators out there. Drew Trank.
Yeah, I'm just going to push back on that because, I go back and watch them against the Falcons, and what they did worked. The quarterback was wildly inaccurate on easy throws, on short throws. They weren't hitting them, and I just think that game looks wildly different if a quarterback who is usually much more accurate is his typical self.
Proof will be in the pudding. We'll see if he's more accurate moving forward. I just know across the league, the offense sucks. And I don't think it should be as difficult as it is. I think, whether they've gotten away from, some of the principles, it's really bogged down. And I don't think a shell defense is the riddle that everybody else makes it out to be.
Well, the way you beat a shell defense is running the football. That's always been the way. You got to run them out of it. But the problem is you have coaches who don't like running or can't run.
I disagree. You can run 4 verts and find out which guys, who's going with who. You can drag things underneath. You can get linebackers stuck in coverage against fast guys. Slants are a way to beat it. I disagree. It's not just, they're in a shell. We have to run the dive play. That's it. It's all we've got.
They are running the stuff underneath. That is part of their. That is their solution. That is the third down play. Yes, why Rashee Rice is dominated. That is the third down play that was open on the last possession of the game, where both routes are going to be open because the Falcons are playing too deep. And Rashee Rice just runs the wrong route, so it turns out that neither of them are open.
The reason defenses got away from the cover 2 is because what it requires is for you to have a badass pressure with 4 up front, right?
Yep.
You can't come with extra because you want to drop 7, right? So I find it impossible to believe that 32 teams in the NFL have 4 badasses up front. We just talked about the lack of pressure from the Kansas City Chiefs with their front 4. The essence of that defense is you must be able to pressure the quarterback without bringing extra people because you want to flood everything in the back, right? And so that's bullshit that everybody has, is just loaded for bear and can get after the quarterback. You should be able to protect all day, and eventually the zone breaks down.
Can I tell you one thing? The teams are doing too much against too high. They're running too much RPO. Yeah. And teams have gotten used to RPO.
I agree with that.
And when there's only one, I mean, you mentioned the slant. The slant's really the only great option on RPOs that's frequently open, and teams are doing it too much. I mean, so it's when you're running that defense and when the quarterback fakes a handoff, here's where it's probably going. I mean, you're eliminating possibilities from what the defense has to consider. So I think it's as much as adjusting to defenses is just the concept is actually just doing something different. I think teams have gotten too comfortable with something that's really not working all that well.
Yeah. And linebackers underneath defenders are a lot more athletic than they were 20 years ago running it. You look at linebackers in 2003 compared to now, which is, again, why you should be running the football. If you've got 220-pound linebackers out there, you should be Trey Smith and Trey Hubbard should be eating all day long.
And you've got more of the defensive backs rather than linebackers. I mean, the Chiefs in 2019 used Tyrann Mathieu more as a linebacker. I mean, they used Daniel Sorensen, and I know Sorensen is not the most popular guy in Kansas City, but he had some real value because he did exactly that. He played this linebacker sort of role to where it's like, okay, I can cover the middle of the field, though. The short aspect of the middle of the field. He obviously was not a great guy covering the back end, but it's a personnel adjustment, not just a scheme adjustment that defenses have made that, like I said, I think offenses have been too slow to get out of the stuff that they've grown comfortable with.
Yeah. A couple other nominees. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has to be on the list. Terry says, Jared says, Tranquil has been a disappointment. Justin mentioned Justin Watson, that without Hollywood Brown, why does he only have one catch? I think Travis Kelce has to be at the top. Right here, Noah John says, Noah Gray. They give him the contract. Where's he? If Kelce's not performing, shouldn't he be stepping up? I think there's a lot of candidates. Also throw in Xavier Worthy. After the first game, where is it? Let me see Xavier Worthy be a real wide receiver and not just a gadget guy. Right now, he looks like a gadget guy. I'm disappointed in what I've seen from Xavier Worthy, and obviously Kingsley Suamataia, I think, belongs on this list as well. We've just kind of moved on because he's not starting, but that's a titanic disappointment when you're like, this is the guy who's going to be our left tackle. In mid-game, second week, you got to yank him out of there because he's imploding. That's a giant disappointment as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how you could view that one any other way. Listen, we are proudly brought to you by our friends at David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gay Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Get your seal coating done now before the weather turns cold. Weekends are booking up fast. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. All right, gentlemen, let's get into what we expect from Kareem Hunt. We're going to see him play this weekend. He's going to be active. They put him up to the 53. Jeff, let's start with you. What do you think we're going to see out of Kareem Hunt here?
Very little. I'm not anticipating he'll get carries. I'm sure they'll work him into the offense, but I'm not expecting any kind of revelation. It's the smart money is to bet against a guy who's almost 30 years old, who wasn't playing football for the last 6-7 months, who averaged 3 yards a carry last year. It's unless Jim Brown's like masquerading as Kareem Hunt somehow, 1964. I don't see. Be honest with you, I don't see the point in taking carries away from Carson Steele at this point. So I like Steele and Pirine over him.
Yeah. What do you expect, Sam? Do you think there's an impact he's going to make?
Well, first of all, I like that I've been elevated to the top of this box somehow during the commercial break. I got bumped up.
But you're not elevated. You're just put to the side.
I mean, look, I last week I think I kind of presented the case for why I don't think Kareem Hunt is an effective running back anymore. The burst isn't there. The only excuse he has is that he says he had off-season surgery because he was dealing with a sports hernia injury throughout the year. If that's the reason that he suddenly can't hit 15 miles an hour anymore, but on 3% of his runs, but he's available as an NFL player until September for a reason. Yeah. And it's not the background stuff. It's the tape that's on the field. Having said that, I mean, the Chiefs are still playing Juju Smith-Schuster. Like they will play Kareem Hunt. I don't think he's not going to get a starter's caliber workload, but what's been telling about the way Andy Reid has evaluated Carson Steele, both on his Monday press conference after the game and then Wednesday ahead of the game, is he's complimented him, but he's mentioned, but he wasn't great in pass protection. Like Andy Reid does not go out of his way to mention something a player screws up. Like there's a message he's reminding Carson Steele through the media to say, I know you had a great game running the ball, but this pass protection's every bit as important as you're running the ball. And so if that doesn't improve, if that's something he's more comfortable with Kareem Hunt, I could see him getting those sorts of snaps in the red zone.
Yeah, I don't see a big role for him, and I don't see big production from him, but there is depth, right? At least if there's not a fall off from the other guys, if he's just another Samaje Perine, then you have fresh legs, and it should keep everybody going. I mean, blitz pickup, I expect him to be good at that, right? He's a veteran. He should be able to pick up the pass protection. Can we also point out that Carson Steele did kind of come off the field like holding a rib or a shoulder or something?
Yeah.
I mean, he was definitely banged up, and so I think, I'll be interested to see, does he still run the same way he ran? And to our point about, when we were talking earlier about, beating the cover 2 defense and running the ball, like I think one of the things teams did was pound away with a big back, right? And nobody has that because no one in college, Jerome Bettis and, Ironhead Hayward and Christian Okoye, those guys are nowhere to be found. You find a running back that's over 220 pounds, 225, where are they? They're only a blocking back, and there's only a handful of those left in the league. I think if you're going to play all these small guys, safeties at linebacker and so on, a big back, a physical back would help. And I think that is one of the reasons why Carson Steele and I think Kareem Hunt, if there is anything left, they're physical backs that should punish DBs. I think that's one thing the Chiefs do have. They have 3 running backs. Samaje Perine runs with some anger. Like I think that's one of the things that could be a positive for them is that their running backs should punish the opposition a little bit with their running style. None of them are afraid of contact, Jeff.
Yeah. It'll be telling what happens when Clyde Edwards comes off that non-injury list, which is what after this game, like he's got to miss 4
games. Eligible after this game.
Yeah. So I mean that's the point I was making before the break. That I'm encouraged by the fact that the Chiefs are willing to run the football and stay committed to that style of running when it's, I'm sure for fans, it's very boring. I'm sure people like you who want to see the explosive plays, like what are we doing here? But that stuff has a huge impact on what you can run. And it does help your play action. And it does force the defense to have to adjust if you're having success with it. And so I think even as recently as 2-3 years ago, they wouldn't have stuck with it. They would have tried to keep firing away and they would have turned the ball over. This team, going back to the first point you made about expecting this team to be better, the margin for error, again, is really slim. This team cannot afford to have 2-3 turnover games and win. They could do it like 4 years ago because they could get it back with explosion, but now they can't. You can't give away possessions with the way this team is built.
Yeah, I mean, it feeds into our next topic on the Chiefs being a run-first team with what Jeff just mentioned. They've already made that transition. As we're quietly talking about whether or not Travis Kelce has lost a step, or whether or not he's distracted, or whether or not he can be the same productive player, the Chiefs have been less enthusiastic about finding that answer themselves. They've already made a transition to running the ball. And I don't know if I'd say they're a run first team, but they are a run on first down team for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. Look, in the initial 6 years of having Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, the Chiefs averaged running the ball on first down 46% of the time. Right now, they're at 55.5% of the time. Like, that is a significant increase on the amount of times they're running the football. And oh, by the way, it's working. The Chiefs lead the NFL in success rate on running the football. And success rate is like getting 40% of the yards you need on first down, or getting 60% of the yards you need on second down, or getting all of them on third and fourth down, moving the chains on third and fourth down. They're at 57% success rate. It leads the NFL. Last year, they were 19th in the league. Like, this is a significant increase in using the run. And it's a significant increase in the success in using the run. And by the way, defenses are already adjusting to it. The Chiefs are seeing fewer lighter boxes than they ever have. In every year of the Mahomes era, they've seen either the most light boxes in the league or the second most light boxes in the league. This year, they're 17th. Like, for all the talk about the Chiefs wanting to get the teams out of this too deep shell by this short passing game and dinking and dunking their way out of the field, this is what potentially could start getting teams to creep towards the line of scrimmage and to change their personnel, because the Chiefs have become through 3 weeks, they're the most successful running team in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jeff, you said you'd rather see Carson Steele run the ball. Do you think Carson Steele has the ability to be a true lead back? I don't know that. I don't think anybody's asking him to be, Derrick Henry with the Titans, that kind of guy. But do you think he can be a lead back in this offense, or is he still just, at best, the president of a committee?
Well, I think he's their best option in that role. Again, if you're asking me to pick between him, Kareem Hunt, and Samaje Perine, I'll go with him. Now, again, I said that earlier. I don't know if he can sustain this. I don't know if he's going to get hurt. I mean, the way he runs, he's certainly very susceptible to that. But right now, you have to have somebody who gives you that. That was the benefit of Pacheco, that we're going to make you pay if you're going to sit back here and play a lot of coverage and force us to throw the ball underneath. We got to have some other option here to throw at you. And so, yeah, I don't know if he can keep it going, but I know he's their best option.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit deeper into the offensive side of things. We'll talk about Travis Kelce. First, we'll let you know we're brought to you by our friends at Northland Injury Law. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Besame Wellness for all your cannabis needs. With fast, easy, and discreet delivery, you can enjoy the same deals you enjoy in-store, but delivered to your home or office. Even same day. Restrictions may apply. Any questions? Let Besame's top-rated customer service team assist you. And this Chief season, don't miss a minute of the game with no delivery fees on game days. And when the home team wins, so do you. Use promo code 3PEAT and receive some extra free goodies with your next Besame order. Don't forget, you can still use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order for online delivery or at any of their 5 area Besame locations.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about, Travis Kelce. He hasn't been there. Right. I know people say, well, Rashee Rice is getting it done. Yeah, Rashee Rice is getting it done. And that's a great thing. But what you were hoping for is that you're going to have Travis Kelce and then you're going to add even more Rashee Rice or add more Xavier Worthy. The fact that Travis Kelce hasn't been there, you've just got a replacement. They haven't gotten better offensively. Who needs to step up, Jeff, in the absence of Travis Kelce? If it's not going to turn in the right direction, who can step up and be that guy?
Justin Watson or Noah Gray if you want, but Justin Watson was the first name thrown out when Hollywood Brown got hurt as a guy who they would look to be more of a playmaker. He's a guy who can run deep, do the intermediate stuff. He's been around for the last, 2-3 years, and he's not doing it. He's got 4 catches. I mean, as well as Rashee Rice is playing, something is wrong when he's got 24 catches and the next closest guy's got 8. And so they've got to find a way to I think he's the likeliest person. I would say Juju, but he does a lot of the same stuff that Rashee does. I would say McCole, but he does a lot of the same stuff that Xavier Worthy does. I'd say Xavier Worthy, but we know what he's doing. And so you start running out of options. And so to me, Justin Watson probably makes the most sense.
All right, Sam, who's the guy for you?
Andy Reid. I mean, I think this is a problem that he's got to solve.
I don't think he's got the wheels.
Yeah, that's right. He's dangerous in the slot.
You want to be frank? I don't see it. I can't help you.
Put a cheeseburger out there, see how fast he runs.
6 linemen, yeah. No, but I think this is a scheme thing. I mean, I don't think they have a like-for-like replacement to – I mean, Rashee Rice is the Travis Kelce replacement. We're seeing him be the number one options on routes that Travis Kelce used to be the number one option on over the middle of the field. Frankly, because he gets off the line quicker. He's open more quicker. He's an option that's facing Patrick Mahomes when Travis Kelce still has his back turned. That's what pops on film. And part of the Andy Reid solution is exactly what we just talked about. I mentioned the first down stats. The Chiefs are running the ball on third down more too. That is the bread and butter Travis Kelce down over the past decade. Is he's your third down target. He's had 4 third down targets in 3 games. 4 third down targets in 3 games for Travis Kelce. And, 2 years ago, that number was at 39. 3 years ago, it was at 41. Now, last year, we did see the dip in that number with his third down success. But the Chiefs are running the ball a lot more on third down, too. It's not just first and second down. I mean, they're 1 at every 3 third downs. They're running the football now. That used to be 1 at every 5 downs. So I think this is a scheme thing that they're going to have to solve when Travis Kelce has not been Travis Kelce.
I like what our buddy Blake said. Wanya Morris. I mean, let's go. More touchdowns.
He's already got more than Travis Kelce.
I know. Like he's clearly a weapon for this team. Yeah, go ahead.
This does speak to just, and we talked about this back in training camp, the personnel choices, the personnel evaluation. When you want to have these guys who fit specific roles and do certain things, and it's all kind of like almost like putting a boy band together. Everybody's got their role. At some point, when you start losing people you're really relying on at the top of that list, it can hurt you. Like I watch Buffalo and I'm like, you telling me they can't find guys like Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakur? I'm watching the Bengals without T. Higgins and Andre Yoshivas catches 2 touchdown passes. Jermaine Burton's going deep on Jalen Watson. It's like their guys aren't wired to do these things unless the guys at the top are really getting loose. And I think that's something they got to look at too.
Yeah, I think it is interesting when you see other guys. When you look at the stats of Buffalo, though, nobody's piling it up, right? Like they're getting very timely catches. James Cook is really the guy who's getting it done for the Buffalo Bills as far as the weapons go. I do agree with you, Jeff. I agree with the statement in principle, but I also wonder. Let's see Buffalo against Baltimore, right? Buffalo really they've kicked some ass, but it's been against inferior opponents to this point, and I think we get a better feel. I think after Baltimore, they've got at Houston. I mean, they're going to get tested a little bit more here. But I agree with you. It is puzzling, and that's why for me the guy is Xavier Worthy. Like I like Xavier Worthy cannot become McCole Hardman. This can't be McCole Hardman 2.0. Like Xavier Worthy has to be a real receiver. He has to run real routes, and that's what's been so baffling and frustrating to me is. I said it before. They've dropped him into the Kadarius Toney package of little dink and dunk things around and just counting on him to run through everybody. At some point, somebody's got to run some real wide receiver routes, right? Some real, some outs, some flags, some posts. I know the route trees are much more complicated than they were in my grade school football days. Okay, I get it. I understand it. I got it. But Eddie.
They had passing game back then.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Eddie Kennison. Or Trent Green to Eddie Kennison on the 15-yard out was stealing, right? There are still things that can be done. If they're too high up top, so break it out to the outside and hit that guy going out of bounds. Like there are some things you can do that they seem to be so fixated on everything sets up something and everything is the next step of a version of a play that has 7 options. Like in the old days, Christian Okoye up the middle for 6 yards, run it till they stop it. Eddie Kennison on the outside, it was a thing of beauty.
Let me stop you real quick. Let me ask you, when you watch, and I don't mean to beat the Buffalo Bills bandwagon too early, but how do you think Khalil Shakur is bigger than Xavier Worthy?
I do. I'd have to. My guess is yes, but not by a lot.
Probably close. Yeah, I'd love for Xavier Worthy to be what he is.
190.
190.
Okay, he's 190. Okay, was he
25 pounds based upon? I'm going to use
that's right. I'm going to use but he's a beast. Yeah, but the point I'm making is that I'd love to see him doing the things that he does in that offense.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, and I think I don't understand why when you have a guy that you're worried about his size. And he clearly is not going to run through anybody. Why do you keep giving him the ball where he looks up and faces 11 guys? Yeah. Get him the ball down the field. And it doesn't have to be a go route. And it doesn't have to be some long arcing across. They tried that spot into the end zone where he went up and across the field. You can get something out quicker that is a real route to a real receiver if he can run real routes. Listen, I like when you see what's his name? The Rams wideout, white guy from Eastern Washington.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. The Cooper Kupp just goes up and makes you go inside, and he goes outside. He runs a 4.6, yet he consistently gets high school wide open because he can run a freaking route. And it's not. I think there is a little bit of paralysis by analysis with this offense. I think it's all great, and it's all great that everything builds on everything. But damn, man, what's been the best route they've run all year? What route just consistently kicked one of the 3 defenses' ass in any of these 3 games?
Rashee Rice is doing a lot of good stuff against
the slant against Baltimore, the simplest of routes. It doesn't always have to be a riddle wrapped in an enigma. And this is the first time that I've kind of looked at it and been like, and thank you. The slant. The slant. Yes. Thank you for everybody who got it. Speed on slant routes. Thank you. I just like, and Tommy said, look, the cover 2 is designed to take away the 15-yard out route. Not really. It's actually a hole in the zone because is the safety going to come all the way out there? Do you get beyond the corner where they hand off? It's actually a good way to test how they are going to hand guys off. So, I think there's some things that just don't have to be quite as complicated, that you could use the skill set of what the guy is. He's fast all the time. Yeah. So if he can run a route, it ought to be a fast route no matter where he goes. So Xavier Worthy for me is the one they got to get more out of him. You can't keep taking 1st-round picks that end up being
Well, and I think Sam's made this point too. You wonder how much Hollywood Brown going down impacted what he could be right now. Right. If it's just him without another fast guy out there, then he's not really much of a threat. But if it's him with somebody else who is fast, then maybe they can scheme some things up. But whatever it is, the part of the playbook that includes Xavier Worthy has not been accessed at all.
Yeah, I still think we'll see more out of Xavier Worthy. And first of all, I agree with Soren. We do need to see more out of Xavier Worthy. I just think we will. As far as them getting him the ball in these gadget plays, I think it's valuable to get a ball in the rookie's hands to get him more comfortable with everything else. But the everything else does need to come. You're exactly right. We need to see more out of him. I still think we will.
Yeah, I think we will as well. I think it just needs to be sooner rather than later. Yeah. If you need any help with your insurance, David Starnes Allstate Insurance has got you covered. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations: North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. All right, let's talk about the quarterback. A lot of people have settled on. By the way, Sam, do you like being back on the bottom? I put you back on the bottom.
What did I say? What did I say?
How do you crap?
What was the downgrade? We've like turned into around the horn here on just getting downgraded on this.
I'm just tired of your crap, Sam. That's it. It's as simple as that. No, let's talk a little bit about the quarterback. Are we changing our expectations on what we think Patrick Mahomes is going to be this year, Jeff?
Well, my expectation is always that he's going to play great, and I'm pretty confident he's going to play great again. Now, how we define great is a different story. I think you, Soren, I think you define great as 5,000 yards, 45 touchdown passes, 400-yard games. That's going to be tougher to come by. But I think in a lot of ways, he's having to manage games, and he's having to contain some of those urges, which speaks to the maturation in him. And I keep saying it, I don't think the weapons around him are that good outside of Rashee Rice. And I think the offensive line is really good, but it's vulnerable at a really tough area for him. And so I think he'll be fine in the end. I think he'll be an MVP candidate and he'll put up numbers and be a Pro Bowl player. But I came in this year not expecting him to be dropping 350, 400, and 4 touchdown games every other week, because they didn't play that way last year. And just because you got new players doesn't mean defenses will let you play that way this year.
Well, screw you, Jeff, because I did expect to get the fireworks going again. So I don't want to hear this. I want the fantasy football dynamic show that I saw before. I can't remember if I mentioned on this podcast, Curtis Siebold, who works with me at 810, came up with this stat, and I think it's a good one. About just how he's kind of tailed off through 3 games, touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes in his career as a starter, starting in 18, 13, 10, 9, 9, 8, 7, this year just 5. So it is a constant trend, Sam, that, through the defenses, through losing Tyreek Hill, all these things that we've seen a downward trend. Do we just need to accept? I mean, Dan Marino had a couple of incredible years early on, and then he was kind of like everybody else. I mean, there is a previous, trend that quarterbacks can be dynamic early, and then they're still very good. I mean, Dan Marino was still a very good quarterback, but as far as statistically, he wasn't doing things that just had your jaw dropping. Peyton Manning didn't throw 50 every year. Tom Brady didn't throw 50 every year. Do we just need to adjust what it is we expect from Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectations have to change because his weapons have changed. I mean, there's no Hollywood Brown I really thought Hollywood Brown had a great training camp. Travis Kelce looks different, and the left tackle situation has bothered Patrick Mahomes. I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes is contributing to the problem right now, but it's because there's other problems going on. And I mentioned this on Tuesday's podcast, but I thought he played spooked. He played like a quarterback who thought pressure was coming frequently, even though it didn't come. The least pressured quarterback in the league in week 3. I think he's got to settle down. And when he talks about getting his fundamentals back, I asked him on Wednesday, what does that look like? What does the process of getting the fundamentals back look like? And his answer was really interesting. He said, even when I throw these little drag routes in practice, that they call them completion throws because they're so short, which is basically the Chiefs offense, right? They're just completion throws that he just, kind of lazily throws it there and waits for, and, the guy's going to catch it. There's not really a defender on, you're not really playing full speed. The play's going to be caught. And he said, I've got to work on pinpointing that ball exactly where it needs to go. So if Rashee Rice is running a drag route, I have to lead him perfectly to let him get upfield after the play. And we saw Patrick Mahomes throw a drag route behind Rashee Rice. So that's the level of detail that he's got. I have all the confidence in the world that Patrick Mahomes is going to figure out that aspect of it. But the expectations, I still think, look, I mean, he's playing with a different cast than what we thought. I mean, even those of us who thought this downtick from Travis Kelce was coming. I mean, Jeff and I talked a lot about the fact that what he did last year was an anomaly, let alone asking him to repeat it again this year. I didn't expect him to have 86 yards through 3 games. And so I just think that his supporting cast is operating differently than I anticipated with missing players and with Travis Kelce. And how could you not change the quarterback's expectations based on that circumstance being changed?
I want to ask you this, Jeff. Is part of the trend on Annie saving plays from Whiskey and Washers? I think that's I think that's an interesting point. We heard for years on this podcast, Eric Eager say, Well, if Andy calls the good plays, right? That was how Eric liked to put it. If Andy calls the good play.
Drew was how he liked to put it. Yeah.
When Drew's calling the plays, not so much. Andy just called the good play.
Yeah.
Right?
I never really.
We love to our buddy Eric Eager.
Yeah, but I never really saw like proof of that concept. I mean, I think he's running what he likes to run. If you look at their seasons, I don't think you see stuff they're running at the end of the year that you didn't see them running at the beginning. I mean, I think they may change depending on matchups and, injuries and what what other defenses are throwing at them. But I think for the most part, they're calling what they want to call. These are close games. It's not like you can sit back and say, we're not going to use this play now because we want to use it in January. It's funny. I was working out before I came over here to do this podcast, and they had some NFL Network stuff on. Yeah, exactly. And I was scrambling to get over it too.
I rolled out of bed right before we started.
Yeah. But they were showing some Chiefs highlights on Good Morning Football, and it was like 2018, 2019, and Mahomes threw a little crossing route to Tyreek Hill, and he went 60 yards with it. And I was like, sometimes that's what your offense is. It's just having great players who can do great things with simple stuff. And most great offenses, most great quarterbacks look great when they got other great players around. You start taking that away as far as the weapons go. Peyton Manning's best years in Indy and Denver, he had great players. Tom Brady, when he had Randy Moss and all those guys, he had better years in. And Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. You took those things away, that's how he got out of New England. He didn't have the same weapons, didn't look as good. People thought he was done. And so that's the lesson to learn here is that even Mahomes, as great as he is, there's a kryptonite for him as well. And to be honest with you, start looking into next year. If Rashee Rice ends up being suspended next year and Travis Kelce is not playing or is what he is, it's going to be the same problem.
By the way, how about Tommy? Eric's not even here, and he's still busting his balls, right? That's all Tommy did was bust Eager's ball. Panthers need to run any plays. Hey, they won. They won. What are we doing here?
Wow.
They won. They changed quarterbacks. They're making bold and dynamic moves. Get off Eager's ass, Tommy. Nobody likes a smart ass. They do like when their parking lots are smooth and look great. That's Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Proud to bring you the Red, Gold, and Bold. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems, they've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Jeff, how dangerous are these Chargers? Banged up. Joey Bosa didn't practice. Joe Alt didn't practice. Rashawn Slater didn't practice on Thursday. Justin Herbert, Christian Fulton starting corner. They were limited in practice. Derwin James is suspended. How dangerous is this Chargers team for the Chiefs this week?
They're only dangerous in the sense that the Chiefs might underestimate them because of all those things you just mentioned. And if they play down to them, then it could be a game. Like I fully expect the Chiefs to win this. Chargers are coming in potentially without 5 of their 6 best players. But, it's hard to see the Chargers rallying given what they have. Again, I like Jim Harbaugh a lot as a coach and think he's going to turn this thing around. I think it's already going in the right direction. But they can't afford to have that many good players not playing against a team like the Chiefs. I just don't see how they end up winning the game.
My assumption is, Noah John said, is Herbert playing? If he's a partial in practice, I assume he's going to go.
Yeah, that's
right. So I think he's going to be there. How long he plays, you roll. I'd never say go out and try to hurt somebody, but that ankle is a problem, and he's not as elusive and mobile as Patrick Mahomes is when he played with that, and you saw it. He's a little bit more of a sitting duck. Sam, is this a trap game? As Jared said, that the Chiefs will look right past him because of the injuries?
No, I think we call every upset we end up using revisionist history and calling it a trap game in the aftermath. Justin Herbert, I don't understand the Chargers playing Justin Herbert on Sunday. They have full evidence from just last week that re-injury to this specific injury occurs. They've got a bye week next week. And you just mentioned their tackles probably aren't playing in the game. Like, why would you want to put your franchise quarterback in that situation? I understand playing the Chiefs is a big game. You have 13 more games to go, and you looked pretty good in the first 2 games. So I'm baffled by the Chargers' decision to play Justin Herbert, and because and to your actual question, it's not a situation for success for the Chargers offense this week because of, as Jeff mentioned, there's way too many guys absent, key guys absent, and those key guys are part of the reason that the Chargers have played better than people anticipated. Now, the other part is the schedule's been really weak for the Chargers through 3 games. But I can't see the Chargers missing this many guys and still being able to be competitive with the Chiefs down to the wire.
Yeah. It looks that way to me. I'm kind of with everybody else. That makes me nervous.
We're sorry to interrupt. So I want to point out we're recording this on Friday morning. We'll get the injury report later Friday with some designations for whether and so like any of our opinions would change if suddenly 4 of these guys decide they're going to play on Sunday.
Yes.
But the anticipation is these guys will not. They have not practiced on Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. I love this. I fully expect the 13-15 game. Bucker hits a game-winning field goal. That's kind of the vibe that people are getting. Jeff, we will get a look at Wanya Morris again, and maybe against Khalil Mack. We'll see how they decide to do that. What are your hopes and expectations for Khalil Mack? And does he have a chance to shine because there's no Bosa?
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends. I'm sure they'll move Mack around if they can. Who knows with Bosa? He's always hurt. But it'll be a better test for Wanya Morris than what we saw this past week. If he ends up getting Khalil Mack a few times, we'll get a better sense of who he is. But I agree. I think, I do think it's probably going to be a low-scoring game. The Chargers want to control the football. They're going to run it to death. I think they're averaging 120 yards passing a game or something like that, which is crazy, even with Herbert healthy. So, yeah, it's Wanya Morris. I think it'll be a good test for him. We'll have a better sense if he's the long-term answer, at least this year.
Yeah. What do you expect from Wanya Morris this week? Last year, when they put him in the game, the first one was pretty good. Then after that, it was diminishing returns. What are your expectations this time around, Sam?
Well, I'm most interested to see how the Chiefs utilize him because last week they did not want their left tackle tested. I mean, everything was quick. I mentioned this on Tuesday's podcast, but the amount of throws they had in under 2.5 seconds was far greater than what they had a year ago, which was far greater than what they had the previous year. So they look like their offense was set up not to isolate Wanya Morris. And I'm interested to see if they're willing to do it this week, whether it's Khalil Mack, no matter who it is, some of this route stuff that you're talking about, Soren, you've got to be confident in your offensive line to let that stuff develop. And the Chiefs and specifically Patrick Mahomes were not confident enough in their offensive line to let that develop a week ago. He played pretty well in Atlanta. And so I wonder if that gives them enough confidence to say, okay, as an offense are going to test him more as opposed to waiting to see if the defense tests him more and see how he holds up, because I think that would give us a much better evaluation of Wanya Morris than what the Chiefs allowed us to a week ago.
Yeah. Okay. Predictions. What do we got? Jeff, you want to lead us off?
I'll go Chiefs 20-16.
2016. Okay. He's got the cover. No, you don't have the cover. The Chiefs are 7. I'm sorry. I was thinking about last week's spread. You got the cover for the Chargers, but the Chiefs winning it outright, 20-16. Sam?
I'm going to go Chiefs 23-13. Look, I mean, the Chargers, as Jeff mentioned, their second worst passing offense in the league, and that's even with Justin Herbert playing the first 2 games. What they've done is they've run the ball. The Chiefs, the one thing we haven't actually talked about much on this podcast is their run defense has significantly improved through 3 weeks. I mean, opposing carriers are under 3.5 yards a carry through 3 weeks. And that's going to be the Chargers' game plan, is to try and run the ball. If the Chiefs have improved enough there, Mike Pennell's played well. Derek Nottie has played better than any of us anticipated. You mentioned, we talked about Leo Chenal. He's been a focal point of this. This is a Nick Bolton dream game, I think. I just think the Chiefs' personnel is better matched up for this than what they have been the past few years. And that's going to be what the Chargers try and do. I can't see them being super successful in it. So I don't think the Chargers can get, if the Chiefs get to 20, I think they win. And I think they get to 23.
From the chat room, we've got Chiefs 21-17, Chiefs 31-10, 24-14, 23-17, 40-20. Noah John has the Chiefs 40-20. Hirani family has Mahomes over 300 yards. Steven has 26-22 Chiefs. So they like the Chiefs, but not an overwhelming amount of confidence that they're going to run away with it, except for Noah John, who has them winning big. Tommy Moe coming in at 31-17. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. We always appreciate you being a part of the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. We want to thank our sponsors, David Starnes Allstate Insurance. If you need any help, David and his crew, they can take care of you. Give them a call at 816-781-7331. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, 30 years. They've been solving parking lot problems in Kansas City. You can find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Besame Wellness, remember, use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order. And our friends at Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, voted #1 accident lawyers in Kansas City. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222. Remember, the choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, NFL.com. Check out his great work there. Sam McDowell at the Kansas City Star. I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold